Good morning, ACCA. Good morning. I hope that each of you have enjoyed this year's conference and have gained valuable information to take back to your individual institutions. At this time, I'd like to introduce our platform guests. To my immediate right is Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall. To his right is Chancellor Jimmy Baker of the Alabama Community College System. Next to Chancellor Baker is Dr. Chris Franklin, immediate past president of ACCA and director of campus services at Bevel State Community College. To his right is Dr. Jim Prusnell, executive assistant and parliamentarian of ACCA and dean of financial and administrative services at Gaston State Community College. To my immediate left is ACCA First Vice President, President-elect Dr. Russell Houghton, Associate Dean of Institutional Effectiveness and Research at Bevel State Community College. Next to Dr. Houghton is Dr. Victoria Perry, ACCA Second Vice President and Counselor within the Division of Student Development Services at Bishop State Community College. To her right is Ms. Jessica Davis, Treasurer of ACCA and Vice President of Fiscal Affairs at Coastal Alabama Community College. And next to Ms. Davis is Ms. Monica Havron, Secretary of ACCA and Executive Secretary at Drake State Community and Technical College. Please help me welcome our platform guests. At this time, we will be entertained by the Southern Union Show Choir and the Southern Union Dancers of Southern Union Community College under the direction of Dr. Trey Rayfield and Ms. Sonia Fincher.
Santa's on his way. Mr. Claus, I feel as though I know you. So you won't mind but get familiar, will ya?
You better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. He's making a list, he's checking it twice, gonna find out who's naughty and nice. Santa Claus is coming to town. He sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake.
Mr. Kringle is soon gonna jingle the bells that'll tingle all your troubles away. Everybody's waiting for the man with the back, 'cause Christmas is coming again.
You better watch out.
He's got a sleigh full, it's not gonna stay full. He's got stuff to draw, but every stumbling away. Everybody's waiting, everybody's waiting. They're all congregated,
Yeah!
waiting for the man with the bag.
Ooh, dig that crazy Santa Claus with his red suit on. Dig that walk, that crazy talk. Been old man, he's really gone. Ooh, with your nose aglow. When Santa starts to blow, go, go. Dig that crazy Santa Claus. Well, I do believe he will bring some crazy toys, so you better be good this Christmas Eve. Dig that crazy Santa Claus.
Mr. Santa, bring us some toys. Bring Merry Christmas to all girls and boys. And every night you'll go to sleep singing and dream of all the presents you'll be bringing. Santa, promise with please, give every reindeer a hug and a squeeze. And be good as can be. Mr. Santa, don't forget me. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum.
Jolly old Saint Nicholas, when you're this way, don't you tell a single soul what I'm going to say.
Christmas Eve is coming soon. Now you dare on that. Whisper what you've brought to me. Tell me if you can. Santa baby, just slip a sable under the tree for me. Been an awful good girl, Santa baby. So hurry down the chimney tonight.
Santa baby, a 54 convertible to light blue. I'll wait up for you, dear Santa baby. So hurry down the chimney tonight. Tonight. So Santa, hurry down the chimney tonight. Up on the housetop,
Merry Christmas, Christmas comes this time of year. Well, way up north where the air gets cold, there's a tale about Christmas that you've all been told. And a real famous hat all dressed up in red, and he spends the whole year working out on his sled. It's the little Saint Nick, just a little Saint Nick. Run, run, reindeer. Run, run, reindeer. Run, run, reindeer.
run, run, reindeer.
You don't miss no one.
Here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane.
last wife.
Special night. Must be Santa. Must be Santa. Must be Santa. Santa Claus.
Who wears boots and a suit of red?
Santa wears boots and a suit of red.
Who wears a long cap on his head?
Santa wears a long cap on his head.
Cap on head,
If that's red,
special night.
if that's white. Must be Santa. Must be Santa. Must be Santa. Santa Claus.
Need a lot of presents to make my Christmas right. I just need my baby's arms wound around me tight. Oh Santa, hear my plea. Santa, bring my baby back to me.
Bring the baby back.
Please make those reindeer hurry. The time is drawing near. It sure won't seem like Christmas unless my baby's here. Ha ha ha.
I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus underneath the mistletoe last night.
Somebody kissing Santa Claus.
She didn't see me creep down the stairs to have a peek. She thought that I was tucked up in my bedroom fast asleep. Then I saw Mommy tickle Santa Claus underneath his mistletoe. Oh, what a laugh it would have been if Daddy had only seen Mommy kissing Santa Claus last night. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good. So be good for goodness sake. Oh, you better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming. Santa Claus is coming. Santa Claus is coming to town. To town.
Please join me in thanking the Southern Union Show Choir and the Southern Union dancers for their gracious performance. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. William Blow, for allowing your students to astound us with their talents. Next, I will ask Dr. Perry to come forward to introduce our keynote speaker.
Good morning. Steve Marshall became the 48th Attorney General of Alabama, February 10, 2017. He is the native of Atmore and a graduate of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill in 1987 and the University of Alabama School of Law in 1990. He served Marshall County as district attorney from 2001 and 2017. When he was sworn in at the age of 36, he became the second youngest district attorney in Alabama. During his time as district attorney, he established a reputation of being tough on crime. He founded the Marshall County Major Crime Unit, the Marshall County Computer Forensics Lab, and the Marshall County Crystal Meth Task Force. He was instrumental in passing the legislation that required a driver's license for Alabama residents to purchase ingredients for making crystal meth. The legislation also created a database for such purchases and led to 90% reduction in the number of crystal meth labs in the state over the past 5 years. He also played a major role in the Brody Act, which holds criminals who kill or injured a mother's unborn baby accountable for 2 crimes, one against the mother and one against the baby. He also a strong supporter of the Marshall County Coalition Against Domestic Violence and successfully pushed for passage of the Kelly's Law, which makes it a criminal crime to murder someone who has a protective order against the offender. The law was named for the Marshall County resident who was murdered in a domestic violence incident. A.G. Marshall is also served as the chairman of the Alabama Criminal Justice Information System, and he is a member of the Alabama Sentencing Commission. Please help me welcome to the podium A.G. Steve Marshall.
Good morning. I realize that I stand before you today as a little bit of the new kid on the block for Alabama politics, and it makes me feel a little bit like that new preacher who came into town and didn't know where the post office was, and so he drove to the county square and he saw a young man standing on the corner and he said, "Young man, I need to be able to mail a letter, but I need directions to the post office. Can you help me?" He said, "Sure, go up about 2 blocks, take a left, it'll be on the corner on the right." Preacher looked at him and said, "Thank you, young man. I'm the new pastor in the church across the street. If you'll come to my church tomorrow, I'll give you directions on how to get to heaven." The young boy looked at him and he shook his head and he said, "Pastor, I don't think I'll be there. If you can't tell me how to get to the post office, you sure can't tell me how to get to heaven." I hope y'all give me a little more credit than that. Had I known that Southern Union was performed like that, I think I'd have called in sick today. That was a remarkable opportunity for us to be able to understand the season that we're coming into now. And I will tell you, I heard you had quite a speech last night. That the esteemed chancellor, I think, really did lay out not only a vision for where this group would be involved in significant change in Alabama, but truly a stark assessment about where we are. And maybe my talk with you today is a little bit of a continuation of what you heard last night, because what I thought I would do is really give you somewhat of the perspective of leadership, and to some extent avoid in leadership from that of a prosecutor, somebody who spent 16 years trying to find justice for people, and maybe also give you a way of understanding how collectively we have an obligation of being able to move people forward to deal with the important issues in this state. You know, as somebody who's been trying cases for a long time, our role is pretty simple in the courtroom. Is that my job is to be able to prove the elements of a case to a jury beyond a reasonable doubt. So, for example, much of my life has been prosecuting murder cases. So I got to prove to a jury that a particular defendant did with the intent to take the life of another, in fact, act and did, in fact, kill somebody else. You know, you take out a gun, you point it at them, and you pull the trigger. That's the elements of a case. Pretty simple, frankly, if you think about it. It really wouldn't take an awful lot of facts. But one of the things that I've learned over the course of my career is that juries really they're interested, but they really don't care as much about what somebody did. But in fact, what they really care about is why. It's why crime shows are so popular, why movies are out there about the events of criminal activity, because it's not so much the short period of explaining what somebody did, but what motivated them to commit that offense in the first place. Why is it they decided to engage in that criminal conduct? That's really what juries care about. And in fact, that's not a requirement of prosecutors, but it's what we spend a majority of our time doing. So what I guess I want to talk a little bit about today is this idea of motivation. Is it how do we convince people to move? Read a book one time by a pastor by the name of Andy Stanley. The book's called Principle of the Path. It's really a wonderful book if you've never read it before, but the principle of the path for him is a simple statement. That is that your direction, not your intention, determines your destination. What he says is you got to move. Is it before you get to where you want to go, you got to take a step. You know, it's kind of like that old Chinese proverb about the longest journey begins with a single step. That for leaders in this room, we can talk about what we want to accomplish. We can discuss these great intentions, but yet if we don't move, it doesn't matter. And I really think that's where our challenge is it how do we convince people to reach the ultimate goal that all of us know we need to find? I'll share with you, I think, a lesson that has been taught to me, and I will tell you this is probably getting a little bit too honest. But I like to binge Rocky movies. Anybody there? Don't raise your hands. I don't want to embarrass you. But every once in a while, I just like to watch Rocky movies. In fact, I think today is the anniversary of Rocky 1. But Rocky 3, great life lessons in these movies. You know, we're not going to see them winning any awards for cinematography, and we clearly are not going to see Sylvester Stallone win the Best Actor, right? But there are lessons learned. So Rocky 3, many of you know the story, but some of you don't. It's the movie that Mr. T was in. He played a character by the name of Clubber Lang. Clubber Lang was the young upstart heavyweight. He's going to take on Sylvester Stallone, the champion. If you recall that story, Sylvester had kind of gotten used to the high life. Wasn't training like he was supposed to. Had gotten a little bit soft. He goes into that fight with Clubber Lang and he gets beat. He loses the championship. Rocky's devastated, but he gets a rematch. And he reaches out to his old nemesis from the original Rocky, Apollo Creed, and says, I want you to train me. I want you to teach me how I'm going to be able to win my championship back. And so Apollo Creed gets him in, and they begin to see that Clubber Lang is just this massive, strong man, but they need to beat him with strength and with speed and agility. And so they train that way. And that's the strategy going into the fight. So Rocky gets his rematch, and in the first round, he does exactly like Apollo tells him. That with quickness and with jabs, he gets out of the way, and he completely confuses Clubber Lang. He wins the first round. Goes back in the second round and continues to do the same thing, but about halfway through, rather than being able to use quickness and speed and agility, Rocky just drops his hands. And he tells Clubber Lang, come on and hit me. And he does. And it's amazing that Rocky survives the second round, and Apollo Creed's going crazy over in the corner, and he says, what are you doing? This is not how we planned it. This is not our strategy. Go back to doing what you did before and the way that we trained. So Rocky gets up for the third round. He walks in the middle of the ring, and he drops his hands, and he looks at Clubber Lang and says, bring it on. Hit me with all you got, and he does. And he continues to pound him. And Apollo Creed's going crazy over in the corner, and he looks at Paulie, Rocky's brother-in-law. He says, he's crazy. He's getting killed. And Paulie looks at him and says, no, that's his strategy. He's not getting killed. He's getting mad. Clubber Lang gets tired. Rocky ends up fighting back, and he regains his championship. Y'all, maybe those of us that care about this state, that are concerned about how Alabama can reach its potential, maybe we could learn a little bit of a lesson from Rocky in that movie. Maybe it's time that we got a little bit mad. Or maybe develop what I will describe to you as a little bit of righteous anger. Because we know the statistics, don't we? I mean, we're 47th in median household income. We're 48th in per capita GDP. According to the National Assessment of Educational Progress, who looked at the results in math, when you combine the scores of our 4th and 8th graders, we finished 50th out of 50 states, only surpassing Puerto Rico in that measure. We're third highest in infant mortality rate, second highest in adult obesity. We're number one per capita in the number of opioid prescriptions that are issued in this state, and we have the 10th highest crime rate in the country. These are statistics that none of us in this room are proud of, and in fact, I could probably recite to you more. But y'all, it's also not saying that everything is bad in Alabama. In fact, The people in this room are truly, I think, some of the shining stars because of what you're trying to do for our state. But yet, if we're brutally honest, if we're transparent, and I think your chancellor was with you last night, by multiple measures of the economy, of public health, of education, and public safety, we're ranking way too far down the list. And far too often, we sort of resort back to that idea of thank God for this other state that just happens to be below us, rather than trying to figure out how it is that we're going to address these significant problems. And to the extent that we're going to make progress in this state, maybe a little bit of righteous anger will help. I know that sounds a little strange coming from an attorney general because, in fact, I've probably prosecuted many cases where anger was involved. Anger is not always viewed as a positive thing. But y'all, sometimes the lack of anger, it's just as egregious. And the key to righteous anger is to make sure it's about the right issue, occurring at the right time, and exhibited in the right way. And y'all, that's not easy either. The famed Aristotle once said, anybody can become angry, that's easy. But to be angry with the right person, and to the right degree, and at the right time, and for the right purpose, and in the right way, that is not within everyone's power. That's not easy. And y'all, despite its limitations, and despite the difficulty of doing it the right way, I truly think righteous anger matters. Because when collectively and individually we feel that way, change happens. And y'all, that's not just a hypothesis. I know it's true from history in this state. 1963, Birmingham City Jail. An inmate there by the name of Martin Luther King Jr. got out a pen and paper, and he stroked a famous letter in which he challenged the white clergy to step up and speak out on the issue of racial discrimination, telling his fellow pastors they could no longer wash their hands of racial injustice, and he rebuked their inaction. In that letter, he accused the white church of being more cautious than courageous, remaining silent behind what he described as the anesthetizing security of stained glass windows. And Dr. King recognized that as the church cowers like that, it became the arch defender of the status quo. And at the end of that letter, here's the challenge that he said, that we'll have to repent in this generation not merely for the hateful words of bad people, but for the appalling silence of good people. Y'all, what Dr. King recognized and what was reflected in that letter and his movement is that when we fail to use our voice, we lose our influence. And make no mistake about it, when we're silent, when we're ambivalent to what's going on and around us, we in reality sanction the status quo. Here's what I believe, that when we're moved to righteous anger, our response is to speak, and more importantly, it's to act. We become motivated to do something to change what we see is going on around us. But y'all, just because we move, just because we act, it doesn't mean that our actions will be well received or that they will be popular. It's why when we're moved to act, we have to remember the words of President Teddy Roosevelt, whose words were as relevant today as they were when he spoke them many years ago, when he said this, "It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But he who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who is at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." When we make the effort, there is no guarantee of success. But y'all, the failure to act in this state simply perpetuates that famous line, "Thank God for Mississippi." Y'all, Alabama's too good for that. The people in this room are too good for that. And here's what I also know about righteous anger, is I see it shape communities in profound ways. When I was district attorney, I had a gentleman that was the owner of a really good local business. He asked if we'd have lunch. We sat down at lunch, and the first words that were out of his mouth were, "We got to do something. I see things going on in our community that just simply aren't right." But what he said was, "What can I do to make things better?" And I want to show you a video of what happened as a result of that conversation.
In Marshall County Schools, we have more needs than we have hands to serve them. So we had this amazing group of people who said, "I'm willing to donate my lunch hour plus a little extra each week."
Watching them be excited about reading, it gives me joy seeing those little kids be able to read and have fun with it.
You know, people have been good to us all through our lives. You know, that's why we're as successful as we are. I've had a lot of people that have helped me along the way, and, you know, it's my time to give back.
The time commitment is worth it. To take an hour, 2 hours out of your week just to help make the difference in a child's life, that's nothing.
Well, I think it's important that students, they have to see outside just that small school community. And by having a business working inside the school, working alongside us, you know, it makes it real.
We wanted it to be more than just you read a page, I'll read a page, you read a page, I'll read a page. Pretty much anybody can do that. But we wanted it to be strategic, and we wanted it to move kids, and we wanted to be able to track that growth. There was a relationship, there was a mentoring that went on. This was just someone they looked forward to seeing every week and still do.
The kids will stop me in the hall, "Today's Tuesday," you know, and they let me know that they know it's the day that they get to meet with their reading buddy, and they're really excited about it.
They know that there's going to be someone there every week that's holding them accountable. We're going to read today, you know, no matter what. You know, let's get our bag and let's go read and have fun. And it's like a mentor.
All of them have been success stories, just from the growth we've seen in the kids. Data and the test scores and the things like that we look at, they've grown, but then when we talk to the kids and we talk to the volunteers, we hear the many successes, you know, along the way.
Sometimes kids just need more. They need more time, they need more attention, and that's the gap that's been closing for us as part of this partnership.
You know, students of today are going to be the business people of tomorrow. So I would say businesses get involved, definitely.
The goal of the Project Graduation Program is to show students in Marshall County the benefits of graduating high school and what opportunities are afforded to them if they do get that diploma. The program has 3 T's. We call it touring, talking, and training. For the touring component, we've taken students to our different facilities in Marshall County. And we've talked about things like pay and holidays and vacation and benefits, things that they're only going to be eligible for if they get that diploma.
One of the biggest questions that we always get when we're dealing with high school students is, how's this going to benefit me later on? Am I ever going to use this in the real world? And so this is an awesome project to allow them to get off campus and see, oh, I see now. I see how that I can be this. They can kind of envision their future because they're touring these places and they're seeing that they can be successful and that they're using the skills that they learn in high school to marry that to the real world.
The second component is the training. We've used the Stephen Covey 7 Habits for Highly Effective Teens and talked with those students once a month about different soft skills that they can take into their next job interview or as they go through school, and we think that's been really valuable for them.
We are very busy in education, you know, trying to provide a technical and academic foundation for our students and specifically have them obtain credentials and be college and career ready. And so Progress Rail Partnership allows us to make that connection with the real world so that they can see what they're doing in high school and how they can be successful in a career.
The last component is the talking component. We've had about 20 Progress Rail employees step up and volunteer to serve as a mentor, where they've gone and met with the student once a month and talked to that student about life. And here's the things that you can do if you do graduate. So it's been really good for those students to have those professional advocates that they can talk to and ask questions to and be real candid and honest with them.
I think that programs like this are very beneficial, and it's something that you can replicate this to other schools, because all kids need mentors. They need relevant experience where they can understand how high school is going to benefit them in the real world. It's about giving back, and our kids are going to benefit, the business benefits, and ultimately the community benefits.
When students come and they see people in action, they see somebody doing that on the job experience, they're able to relate what they're doing in high school to that career. And we need all of our industries to be involved, because they don't know that world is out there. I mean, they see us, they see school, maybe a few of them work, but not all of them do. So the more industries who can provide for our students and give those students opportunities, the better off our future will be.
That relevance and those connections are made, and then our students can take what they learn in school through the mentorship program, through the campus tours, and through getting off of our campus into the business world and see, I can do this later on. I can see myself being successful out in the real world, making a little bit of money, and being a productive community member, and that's ultimately what it's all about.
Project Literacy took every child that was not reading at grade level in that program to the point that they were reading and exceeding grade level by the end of the year. Project Graduation was part of that rural high school, allowing more kids to graduate that wouldn't have graduated before. All because a guy was fed up. Somebody that simply saw that we needed to do something, and he was willing to spearhead that. Y'all, we need to find more people that are fed up. And who better is positioned in the community college system to be that conduit to allow people to make changes in community? Because you are positioned, both geographically and otherwise, to be that catalyst for Alabama for change to occur. And I hope you see that. I hope you realize it. And I hope you understand that the mission of this place allows Alabama to be the vehicle to reach its potential. You got that challenge last night. Maybe today we just need to be able to find some partners that realize that as a result of what they see around us, that we have to do better. And how do we motivate them? How do we convince them to do that? Maybe it's also to believe a little bit the statement that I heard one time, that our goal should not be to live on earth forever, but to leave something that does. You are positioned uniquely to have a legacy. In your interaction with your children, your communities, it's not just about professional development. It is about impacting the lives of the people that you come into contact with and that you have an opportunity to change. For me, it was a little 11-year-old girl. When she walked into my office for the first time, she couldn't look me in the eye because she was talking to a total stranger about the most embarrassing things that had happened to her as a result of a step-grandfather. She would go visit her grandmother during the day. She loved her, but her grandmother would work into the evening. She would stay over at the house with that step-grandfather who would take her back into the bedroom and do things to her that should never, ever happen to a little girl. She didn't tell originally because he said that if you tell, nobody's going to believe you. And in fact, if you tell, your grandmother's going to believe me and not you, and she won't let you come back. One day she went to school and a guidance counselor talked to their kids about good touch and bad touch, and she finally disclosed what had been going on for quite some time. He was ultimately charged, and exactly what he told her would happen happened. Her family didn't believe her. Grandmother shunned her, wouldn't let her come back, didn't even go visit her. And suddenly this girl's sitting in my office talking about the most embarrassing moments of her life. We got her some counseling. She had an opportunity to learn that she had done nothing wrong. And eventually, about a year and a half later, we're in trial. Now a 12-year-old, having to get up in front of 12 total strangers called a jury and talk about her first sexual experiences. That's why kids are my heroes. She gave her testimony. She was called a liar. That decorated military veteran defendant got up and talked about how he had served his country and how this little girl had just made up that story. Jury convicted him. And when that case was over, that young girl and I had a chance to talk alone for a minute. And she looked at me and she said, "I want to thank you." I said, "You don't need to thank me. That's the job of a prosecutor." She said, "No, I want to thank you for believing in me." And she hugged me and she walked out the door. And that's when I cried. Because I knew as a result of what I had an opportunity to do, that we had changed that young girl's life forever. Y'all, people are in your office every day. They're in your institution, in your communities that are desperately seeking someone to become that catalyst for change. Embrace it, grab it, and motivate people to follow your lead. And maybe it takes a little bit of anger to get us there, but if that's what it takes, we're going to do it on the right issue for the right reason in the right way. And I can guarantee you that this institution can be what Alabama needs to take it to be able to reach its potential. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for being able to listen to me today, and I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be here.
We thank you, AG Steve Marshall. We all appreciate you being here supporting our conference today and providing us with your insight and vision. I would like to present you with a small token on our behalf. This is from the Alabama Community College Association and the Alabama Community College System, and we thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now we will move promptly into our 2017 ACCA business meeting. I will now call the 2017 business meeting of ACCA to order. A copy of the minutes of the 2016 ACCA business meeting was posted to the website for your review. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved and posted. I will now ask Ms. Jessica Davis to deliver the treasurer's report.
Good morning. Currently, ACCA has a checking account balance of $169,000. Total assets are $189,000. This year's revenues to date are $90,000 and expenses are $50,000. We still have the bulk of the registration and conference expenses to bring in and pay out. The updated final report will be on the website after we close out in December.
Again, a copy of the treasurer's report will be posted on the website for your review. Are there any questions? Hearing none, the financial report is filed for audit. There is no unfinished business, so we will move into the new business. First, I will ask Dr. Jim Prusnell to present the results of the ACCA elections held in October and the results of our commission chairs and vice chairs.
Thank you. As I call your name, if you would stand briefly, appreciate that. The person selected to be second vice president is Ben Jordan, Southern Union State Community College. Yesterday, we had the elections for the 5 commissions, so just bear with me a minute as I call these names. Elected to be the chair for 17-18 for the Commission on Administration, Dr. Glenda Colagros, Northwest Shoals Community College. Vice Chair for the Commission on Administration, Dr. David Hodge, Chattahoochee Valley Community College. For the Commission on Faculty, the Chair, Shelley Holt, Chattahoochee Valley Community College. Vice Chair, Shyler Huff, Coastal Alabama Community College. For the Commission on Students, Chair, Dr. Sherry Taylor, Central Alabama Community College. Vice Chair, Jason Jesse, Lurleen B. Wallace Community College. For the Commission on Support, Chair, Libya Hunter, Coastal Alabama Community College. Vice Chair, Katrina Beckham, Trenton State Technical and Community College. For the Commission on Workforce Development, Nicole Dubose, Shelton State Community College. Vice Chair, Workforce Development, Jennifer Hall, Lurleen B. Wallace Community College.
Thank you, Dr. Prusnell. Each year, the ACCA Executive Committee recognizes a current or former member of the committee for outstanding service. We presented this award this past Sunday. However, I would like this person to stand and be recognized. His name is Mr. Ed Carter of Northwest Shoals State Community College, and he goes unseen. He's in the back. Whether you know it or not, you've probably seen Mr. Carter for many years during the ACCA annual conference. He and his team have been avid supporters of the conference with their production and multimedia services. We thank you for your continued support, and we hate to see you go. But thank you, Mr. Carter. Thank you. During the conference, we have asked all attendees to participate in a social media contest using each of ACCA's social media outlets. I will now ask Dr. Houghton to come to the podium to introduce and announce the winners.
If you participated in this year's contest, we would like to say thank you. And if you won a prize, if I call your name, if you'll see Jessica Davis, Jessica, if you'll raise your hand, up here at the front right after the awards, or after this program, she will give you your prize. For the Instagram post, Tamika Cross. For the Twitter post, Marcia Stevens. And for the Facebook post, Erica Rhodes. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I introduce our new ACCA president for 2018, I would like to thank each of you for the privilege of serving as your 2017 ACCA president. This year has been filled with excitement, encouragement for me, and as we continue to tell the wonderful contributions of our faculty, staff, administrators, and students, it is my hope that we will continue to share professional development opportunities within our association and our individual colleges. I would like to thank this wonderful 2017 ACCA Executive Committee that you see sitting before you. Would you please stand? And they're all around you. They have provided everlasting friendships, an ear to listen, and they've worked collectively as a great team to just get the job done. Please join me in showing our appreciation again to this committee, because what you've seen the last 2 or 3 days, they've done it, and we want to say thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know if you know it or not, but this is not something that we're paid for. This is we volunteered to do this, so I just say thank you. I also would like to thank my president, Mr. Sam Monahan, who has continued to support my professional development growth opportunities. And from time to time, he just didn't know it, but I was moonlighting on a full-time job serving as president. I would also like to thank my Trentham State family. They've welcomed me in since July, and I just want to say thank you for each of you. We had 64 attending, and I just want to say thank you. I appreciate your support as well. To my Drake State family, I would like to say thank you. I started my journey with my Drake State family and my Calhoun family with Dr. Jim Clauber. I know you're trying to figure this out, but I've worked at 3 institutions in 1 year, so don't judge me. But I know people are like, well, she has a lot of families. But this actually started with my Chattahoochee family back in 1999. But I want to say thank you to all. I would also like to thank, I'm not doing a presentation of the awards or anything, but I do want to extend appreciation to my family, my father and my family for always supporting me, and the ambassadors that you've seen here today from Trenton State. They were excellent, and we want to say thank you as well. The Renaissance team, we want to thank you. LaShawn has done an excellent job coordinating this conference with Steve, Bill, and the chef, Dean, and we want to say thank you to all. Now, it is time to introduce, I'm so excited, the new 2018 ACCA President, Dr. Russell Houghton. Will you please come forward? As I officially pass the gavel to our new ACCA president, I ask that all past presidents please stand and remain standing as we officially pass the gavel to our new ACCA president. Will all the past presidents of ACCA please stand? And let's give them a round of applause. I'm so excited. Dr. Russell Houghton, I now pass this to you as the 2018 new ACCA president. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chambers. I have some big shoes to fill. To welcome you as the immediate past president, I will ask Dr. Chris Franklin to now present the ACCA President's Pin.
Just pin it there. I'm so excited. Thank you. Love it.
And Dr. Chambers, on behalf of the ACCA membership and the executive committee, I would also like to present you a small token of our appreciation for your leadership and your guidance for making this a great conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
If you've never had the opportunity to work with her, she's been great, and she provides a lot of guidance and assistance, and I do appreciate what I've been able to learn this year. I am honored to have been chosen as the president of the Alabama Community College Association Professional Development Organization for 2018. And I look forward to working with Chancellor Baker, the college presidents, the employees of the colleges, and the ACCA Executive Committee over the next year to plan the 2018 conference. This committee does a lot, and this is no small feat. It takes a year. We will kick off in about February, start planning for next November. And if you've never worked on a team that's from all over the state, it's an awesome experience, and it takes a lot of individuals to make this happen. I look forward to continuing the legacy of good work for the Alabama Community College Association, and I appreciate your support going forward. If there is no further business, I make a motion to adjourn. We're now adjourned. Thank you. Have a safe holiday.